Hello everyone, I want to use this opportunity to demonstrate this piece of software that I've been working on called RemBG Virtual Green Screen Edition. Now, I am a prolific YouTuber. I need to remove backgrounds from videos at an industrial scale. And in the olden days, I used to record my podcasts on Microsoft Teams and Zoom and whatnot. And of course, those remove the background, but those are not podcast ready. They compress. In the case of Teams, it only gives you 8 frames a second. I mean, the quality is crap. So clearly, I've migrated to using specialist software to record my podcasts. But now, I don't have the ability to remove the background. The other thing is there is software that allows you to remove the background from video. For example, there's this NVIDIA broadcast thing, which I'm using now. But the problem is it only works in real time on your webcam. It doesn't have a batch capability. And I've really been racking my brains why they don't allow you to have a batch capability. I can only think it's such a valuable piece of functionality that maybe they think they could monetize it. I was really stung by this because I tried to use a piece of software online. I think it's called... I can't even remember what it's called, but there is a service online which removes the background from a video, and for about 3 minutes of video it cost me about £15 in the UK, which is absolutely daylight robbery as far as I'm concerned, because I'm a deep learning specialist and I know how easy this stuff is, right? There are loads of semantic segmentation models. All you need to do is run it on every single frame and Bob's your uncle. So why is it not possible to remove the background from a video with a command line? I was so perplexed by this. So I guess I saw a guy called Daniel had created a library on GitHub for doing it on images, and I've made the multi-processor, video version of it. Okay, so let's look at how this works. So I've got a typical video here, and this has got me in it talking about some stuff, some blah blah blah, and I want to remove the background. So how do I do that? Well, I just find where this video lives. So I've got a trusty command shell over here. And this is the video, it's this one here. So now we've got a tool called Greenscreen, and you can install this like so. So you say pip install, I think it's RemBG Greenscreen. And that will install this thing for you. I've already got it installed, of course. And then when you run it, it'll give you the help menu. Now, the first thing is you need to select which model you want to use. So there's a portable model. I wouldn't bother with that because it doesn't save you any time and presumably the results are worse. But basically there's a U2Net model. So this is the original semantic segmentation model published by a bunch of authors, and my thanks to those authors for publishing their model online. This version it's called Salient Object Semantic Segmentation, which means it'll just segment the most salient object in your in the field of view, and everything else will be removed. There's also a human variant of it. So this one has been trained specifically to segment humans. And if you're doing virtual green screening, this is what you want. So this is the default option. But if you want to segment other objects in your field of view, then probably use the other one. So yeah, other than that, you've got 2 options. So you've got the parallel version, which I now recommend you use because it's significantly faster, or you've got the standard single-threaded version. You've got a couple of options here, so you can limit the number of frames. So if you want to just do a smoke test and just do the first 1,000 frames, then use that. And you've also got the GPU batch size, the worker nodes, and I'll explain what those mean later. But for now, you can probably just use the default options. But if you've got a really beefy machine with 20 CPUs and lots of GPU memory, then you want to be increasing those probably. So anyway, we just find the thing that we want to create a mat for. So we say green screen, and then we'll go parallel green screen, and we'll put that in there. And you need to put it in quotes. So there's 197 frames in there. We spin up all of our parallel workers. We've also got a frame ripper, which is pulling all the frames out of FFmpeg in a separate frame. And then it will just spool those frames into FFmpeg, and you can see what your frame rate is and so on. And then in the background, it's creating you this mat file. So when that finishes, okay, so we've got 197 frames, and then here's our mat file here, which looks like that. So if we wanted to use this, we would go into Premiere, and here's a few I made earlier, which I can show you in a second. But yeah, we just drag those things into Premiere, we'll create a new sequence. It's usually good to create your own sequence from scratch because then you know what the resolution is. You shouldn't just drag the video file over there. So yeah, here's the video file that we've just created. So that's me there. And it's created this mat, which we can drag over as well. And it's already the right size because we know what the frames are and so on. So then we can just take this mat and we can make it a bit bigger. And then there's a thing in Premiere called track key mat. So we just drop that on the bottom one. And then we just say it's the video channel 2 and it's Luma. So that's now segmented it. Now you can tweak the size on the underlying frame, of course. So you just get it so it's roughly right. And there's also a thing called Ultra Key. And Ultra Key allows you to do something called matte cleanup. So you can choke the matte and you can also kind of soften the matte. So you can kind of do some cool stuff there. Anything you can do in Premiere. So what you might then want to do is possibly nest the whole thing so it becomes an atomic unit, and then you might want to scale and move it around a little bit. You know, and then you can start to do some cool things. So, you know, maybe you want to have like a background, you know, so you can do that. I don't know why it's done that on this particular, that is quite unlucky, to be honest. It's normally very, very good indeed. It's getting a bit confused there, but you know, you can also do some cool things. So something I quite like to do sometimes is to move the background in and then kind of use a blending option to give you a mixture of the two. In fact, I can show you an example that I made earlier. So this is the latest episode of Machine Learning Street Talk, and what I quite like to do is to put the original video back in and then blur the background and then add in another video and then use a blending mode to kind of combine the two, and you can get some really, really cool effects there. And when you compose them all together, so this is my latest show that I'm producing on Street Talk, you know, you can see you can actually get some really, really cool effects. And the only limit really is your creativity. Okay, right, so just from an architectural point of view, this is, I've got a whimsical which I share on the GitHub as well. So this is how I break up the batches across the different worker nodes. And I stream, in fact, I'll show you the overall architecture here. So this is architecture 7, what I call the champagne edition. So I have one process spooling in frames from FFmpeg, and then they all get compressed down to 320 squared. I then put them in a shared memory, and then I've got a whole bunch of Python workers that will spool off these batches from that shared memory, and the batches get spooled off in this configuration, which I've written down there. But then in bunches of GPU batch size, we go and get a neural network model. We do a bunch of normalization and scaling. We do the semantic segmentation. We convert back into NumPy arrays, and then we resize it back to square aspect ratio, and then we put the results in a shared memory, and then I've got another FFmpeg process which is monitoring that shared memory and spooling the frames out. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to say, but it is really cool what you can do. I think one of the things that I really love about this is, in fact, if I come in here, so this is an example of me talking on the latest show. And I'm using let's say, a 22mm lens, and you can kind of blur the background. And what I've noticed is that if you blur the background, you can make anything look cool, right? It's a kind of bokeh effect, but normally to get a bokeh effect, you have to have an 85mm lens, and you have to be really zoomed in. And now you can do all sorts of cool things because you can blur the background. You see here, I've kind of like grayed some stuff out, and you know, you can do loads of things where you kind of change the filtering on the background slightly more than the person in focus. And yeah, I just think that it's actually a really powerful toolbox that you can do all sorts of quite creative things with. Okay. Amazing. Well, thank you very much.